If you loved To Catch a Predator by Chris Harrison, no, that's the Bachelor guy, by whoever, you'll enjoy the episode that I recap of a true crime that's based in the UK during this episode. Trigger warning, that show is about sex assault. I go in detail about the stuff that they talked about on the show, so I want to warn you, it's not for the faint of heart. Also, I mention a passing of a friend of mine, rest in peace, about our friendship and how I found out about the death. I talk about my time in Hollywood when I was an aspiring actress, albeit a struggling one at that. I talk about my celebrity encounters. And then we veer towards tracking, and we talk about the podcast that I was listening to at the time. Maybe you would be interested if you haven't checked them out yet. So I tell you a little bit about that. And no episode would be complete without me, unfortunately, talking about weight issues. Please join our podcast's Facebook group, Babbling Brook Podcast, as well as you can follow us on Instagram at Babbling Brook Podcast. My personal social media is at Babalabrook all across the board. The blog is babalabrook.com, youtube.com/Babalabrook. And if you like, I'd like to drop my eBay store names. It's The Lovely Brook, My Brook, Tracker Brook, and The Brook. If you want to support the show in any way, you can see what you can purchase on there. Everything's always a good deal. If not, no pressure, by the way. Please share the show, share the episodes, give us a rating, and all that good stuff. Cheers! It's Friday. Oh, it's Friday. I'm finding this out at 3:30 p.m. It's Friday, February 26th, and I just pulled over at the truck stop, 3:30 p.m. Like I said, I'm done for the day. I started in San Francisco. Right now I'm in Lebec, if that's how you pronounce it, so it's Lebec in Kern County, California. So it's not too far from Bakersfield. I think it's also called Fraser Park or Fraser Mountain Park, something like that. That's not important. Started off today in Northern California. I spent the night in San Francisco, and I did 2 deliveries and came down. For those of you who are new to the podcast, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Hope you'll enjoy your stay, and I hope you will come back. Please come back. Please come back. I promise you'll love me eventually. I am a truck driver, and so I live full-time in the truck. It's really just wake up, pick up a load, or drop off a load, and I want to share what I listen to while driving. Today, I listened to documentaries while I drive as well. So today I listened to, I think just one episode of this British show, in case you may be interested in that kind of stuff. It's Undercover Police, I think is the name of it, Undercover Police, and then Hunt for Pedophiles. I'm not saying if you're into pedophiles, but I'm just saying, like, if you're into that kind of, deal, kind of like, what was that show that Chris Hansen did on MSNBC? It's kind of like that kind of Sting type show. The guy will go undercover and pretend to be a young girl or boy. Last night's episode, he was a 14-year-old boy, And that one was interesting. I don't know why I don't remember today's. Maybe I didn't listen to any today. It was just last night, but I have all my days mixed up. So last night's episode of this hunt for pedophile, the cop guy, pretended to be a 14-year-old boy, and they chatted with a bunch of guys, but some of them, they flaked out on him, and some just kept coming. One of them stood out. So he made arrangements with this guy. The guy said, I'll come over. Where do you want us to meet? And the boy said, quote unquote, let's meet up at KFC. And then the pedophile was a middle-aged man who's an assistant teacher. I don't know what really that means. I guess I should know, because I think I was an assistant teacher once, and I had an assistant myself while I was an assistant. So the pedophile showed up, middle-aged guy showed up at the KFC, but they intercepted him before he, went into a KFC specifically. Obviously, they don't want to arrest somebody in the business and put citizens at risk. So the guy was arrested. They told him why they arrested him. They had him on camera the whole time. I've always found it interesting that sometimes they'll have the perpetrator on these shows on camera, and sometimes they won't. So I don't know if maybe the guy would have gotten lawyers who would have contacted production and told them, we don't want our client, blah, blah, blah. I don't really, it's interesting to me. If you know what's going on and why that is, let me know at Babalabrok on all social media. So this guy was so freaked out that he was arrested. He was just like, this is not happening. This is not happening. They were like, yeah, it's happening, dude. This cannot be happening. This cannot be happening. I'm thinking, you were freaking out? Anyway, this is what really got me about him. When he was at the police station and they were telling him, so you're under arrest for blah, blah, blah. Like, it was sinking in his head. Oh my God, I'm really under arrest for this. This is really, oh my God. Because in his conversations with this boy, 14-year-old boy, this middle-aged pedophile was saying things like, I won't force you to do anything you don't want to do. It's like they always say that. I guess that's part of quote unquote grooming. So he was like, we can find like a park close by and we can sit under a tree, I guess like hide under a tree basically. And we can suck and jerk off. So I guess, suck each other off, because right? Is he going to suck himself? I don't know. What do I know? So that happened. I wonder if I can make this. It's too bright. Oh, perfect. I wonder if I can minimize this. Anyway, so that was that episode. And then, so when he all of this sunk in and they were telling him, you're under arrest and blah, 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 blah. He literally, they could see that he was getting, what is the word? Woozy or wheezy? Woozy. And they were like, are you okay? Do you want another glass of water? And I thought, wow. He said, yes, please. Everyone's so polite in Britain. Sir, would you like another glass of water, sir? Yes, please, I would like to. I'm thinking, you are about to ruin a 14-year-old boy's future and his parents. Like, everybody's life who is in this boy's life was going to be affected because of you. And he had like a wedding ring on. He looks married anyway. When I dated somebody who looked married once. And I was like, man, this guy just like... And then I found out that like he wasn't as divorced as he said he was to me. He had told me he had been divorced for 2 years. Then I found out that he may or may not have been really divorced at the time. And he may have only been separated not as long as he had told me. That story is on my blog, babalabrook.com. So, Babalwabrook, Babalabrook. He says this middle-aged man just totally like passes out. Like his knees buckle up and he just passes out. And they're like, whoa. They grab him. And I'm thinking, oh, you want to pass out now? how do you think that kid's parents would have felt? And this kid, for the rest of his life, when he's trying to figure out, who am I? Why am I this way? Do I like men? Do I like women? Do I like this gender? Because, I'm not saying this is what is a deciding factor on whether somebody becomes gay or not. I'm just saying, like, his sexuality may be like affected in a way. And then he may be like, I don't know, like maybe this dates back. This would have become the story of his life. Thank God this is a fictional character. So that's one episode of something that I watched. And I listened to a lot of, no, I didn't. I intended to listen to a lot of podcasts. Right now I have 180 episodes downloaded on my Spotify. I have maybe 6 episodes of Dr. Phil, as in Dr. Phil. TV Dr. Phil, but he has I think it's Dr. Phil Good or whatever, his podcast. I have a feeling he has 2 different podcasts. So I have 6 episodes, more or less, of his that I've had since last year. It's February now, so last year wasn't that long ago. One of them is Cedric the Entertainer. I listened to maybe 10 minutes. He sounds like he's laying on his couch with somebody massaging his feet, and he's just totally chilled. I think it was filmed during quarantine, so I may be right. And I was like, oh man, I really want to keep listening, but I really just want to not. So I kept it because I met Cedric the Entertainer at the filming of his show. I think it's called The Neighbors or The Neighborhood. And I did background for that show. Background as in I worked as an extra there, and I got to meet him. He shook a couple of our hands, just maybe 2 people. So I was lucky to be one of them. He has, and I've mentioned this before, probably on my blog, he has the softest hands I have ever, I don't want to say touched, because that can be sound like a me too. Shaken. He has the softest hands. Man, must be nice to be rich. Anyway, he's a nice guy too. He'd been to South Africa, so he loved hearing that I was from there. It's always a nice conversation point, my accent. And then people will be like, where are you from? Oh, I was just there. Oh, I was, so that was nice. Anywho, so I was like, oh yeah, I know this guy is very nice, very down to earth. Let me listen to his episode. And I love Dr. Phil. I had been on his show, not I'm on the stage of Dr. Phil. The only time I was on the stage was a few times I danced before the show for free stuff. No shame in my game. So I may have danced a few times on the Dr. Phil stage for maybe a Dr. Phil mug here and there. Mrs. McGraw. What's her name? Man, it's been a while since I've been there. I can't even remember. Robin McGraw. Stress ball, stuff like that. I will do just about anything for just about anything. So so I did audience quote unquote work for the Dr. Phil show. They kind of take care of us. They give us pizza in between shows, and those cookies that are like crackers but with peanut butter inside. Very American as far as I'm concerned. Being from South Africa, I was born and raised there, and all the way raised and then raised myself after in South Africa. So by the time I came to America, I was already fully fledged. Could have easily have been. I had already been engaged and dumped. Well, kinda. Not the engaged part, but the other part. So that's how fully fledged I was when I was in America. When I came to America. So when I say some things are very American, in my opinion, it's because I spent just about all my life in South Africa. I never experienced those things until I came here. So I'm like, yeah, this is normal. People are just out here eating cheese-flavored crackers with peanut butter in them. This is normal. Hey, bon appetit, cheers. Wow. I eat them too now. I eat anything anyway. I have a very open-minded palate. So the intention was to listen to a few episodes. Yesterday I had 160 something episodes on my podcast downloaded. So I listened to perhaps two. Here's a podcast that I started listening to. It's a very easy listen. You must understand, as a truck driver, my job is to drive the truck. I don't unload it or load it, thankfully. My job is just to drive the truck. And therefore, I spend the greatest part of the day driving. I drove from Southern California yesterday, pretty much opposite of what I did today. I drove north, and now today I drove south. The same exact. No, not like yesterday. I drove on the 101, which was along the beach. You pass Santa Barbara. It's beautiful drive. Can be kind of hilly and windy. And yesterday, actually, when we started the day off, I was off before yesterday. So when I started off the day yesterday morning, I was at the company terminal here in Southern California, and I was leaving with an empty trailer to go and drop it off. Just before I showered in the morning, I felt the truck shaking from the wind. And I was like, man, it's going to be a very, very interesting day to drive. I've driven in all kinds of weather situations across the country, 48 states, or the lower 48 states, which means 50 United States of America minus Hawaii and Alaska. I hope you're following me. I'll take it back to where I was in the beginning. Like, I know I digressed a bit. When I was leaving the company terminal, you buzz security at the gate, boom gate, and he was like, "Are you empty?" I'm like, "Yeah, got an empty trailer that I'm gonna drop off and pick up a loaded one." And he said, "Yeah, we were told to tell you guys not to leave with empty trailers because of the wind today." That's how bad it was. There was like a wind advisory on the internet and everything. So I had to drop off my trailer and do what we call bobtail when you're not attached to a trailer. And that's how windy it was. So I was kind of concerned because my route was going to be along the beach. And as we all know, those of us who do know, it can be windier along the beach than it normally is elsewhere. Probably because there's no buildings to stop the wind. I don't know. So luckily I made it, and there wasn't that much wind once I picked up the load. Thank goodness, because my load was very light at 16,000 pounds. Maximum allowed in California is about 40. Well, anywhere in America is about 42, 43,000 more or less pounds. So 16,000, you can tell, proportion wise is light. And when you're carrying a light load with the trailer, it can be easy to flip over. Can be easily flipped over by the wind. Now, yesterday I had about 167 episodes. I probably listened to 2. Yesterday was Thursday. I listened to, I'll tell you one day whose episode it is. I don't feel like mentioning it right now, but it's quote unquote comedy. I don't agree with that part. And then celebrity gossip here and there, and maybe an interview. So the interview was almost immediately, and it was of somebody I never heard of, about a show I haven't watched. So I was like, well, that was a waste of an episode. That was an easy check from me, like, oh, I listened to this one because I only listened to like 5-10 minutes max. Then I try to listen to something productive for my brain so that, I quote unquote stay smart. So I listened to something about, financial stuff. And then I'll tell you some other time the name of that one as well. And what else? Even that, I think I may have finished that one. I tried to listen to another one, but it was 2 guys interviewing each other. I had already heard the 2 guys be interviewed by somebody else on a different podcast. So now they're having a conversation about each other. They're meeting each other for the first time. So they're talking about, introductions, the things that I already heard from either side on a different podcast. So that was another
yeah, we're going to have to skip this one, minus this. So it's always good to take down the numbers. But then I downloaded, obviously, more than 10 more episodes. I like Nancy Grace, so I'll drop that name. It's a crime, what is it called? True crime podcast. If you're into that kind of stuff. I like true crime. I have been for years before I even came to America, and I've been in America for almost 9 years now. Or 10, who knows, who's counting. So she talks about, true crime. Like, oh, this happened and blah, 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 blah. And she has her experts to break it down and bring it back together. She always says that, but I usually skip that part because I already know what she's going to say. Sometimes I get annoyed by her. She's like that aunt of mine that I love her. So there's nothing I can do about it, but she has her tendencies that tend to annoy me. She's always talking about, oh, my twins, oh, the twins. That's me doing her accent poorly. My twins, John, David, and Lucy. You see? I even know their names. Those are the real names of the twins. John, David, and Lucy. And my husband, what's his husband? John something. Actually, I know his last name too, but I haven't listened to Nancy in a while, until yesterday. Like I said, she can annoy me, so I take a break from her. She did an episode of something or another. I wonder if I can. No, I can't. Oh, my phone's locked. Whoa, what's going on? My voice. Wait. Hold on. Oh, I can't find it now. But yeah, so Nancy Grace, I did her, and she had her. Oh, I know it. She had Joe Scott Morgan, a death investigator. What? So dramatic. I don't think we have death investigators in South Africa. But he was, and Bethany, Dr. Bethany, something, was a psychologist in Beverly Hills, and Alexis Torres Chuck, something like that. Like, I've listened to so many of her episodes that it's just like, oh, I know this one, I know this one. But my favorite is Sheila, or something. She is my favorite. I'll tell you, when I've listened freshly to Nancy Grace, I will tell you the names and stuff. I'll really remember them, because now also I'm tired. I didn't really sleep well last night. Did I finish all the stories that already started? I'm just obviously blah 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 blah. Yeah, I think I tied all the stories together. And I chatted with my sister a little bit about random stuff. I received a message on Instagram from a guy that I used to. We lived in the same apartment building, but that was not the connection. We did background work together. A lot of audience, actually, more than background shows together when I lived in Hollywood. And we also lived in the same building, but that was not a thing. Like, he never came to my apartment, I never went to his. So that, and I guess he dated a girl I was very, very close friends with. I thought we were going to be friends forever. And then that friendship ended abruptly. He messaged me. I got distracted thinking about that friendship. The guy messaged me on Instagram today. We don't message each other, we follow each other, so we do the double tapping on each other's like food and this and whatever. And he said, oh my God, about so-and-so. I just heard she was so young and so, full of life and so sweet. And I thought, oh, she's dead? I didn't even know she was dead. I think he thought I knew, and I didn't. So that was my way of finding out that somebody has passed away. Somebody that we did background work with, who also lived in Hollywood. She and I, this is not the mutual friend with the guy that I talked about who I had a great friendship with. This is another girl that I thought we were good friends. It's a long story, dude. I guess I can't keep a friend to save my life. That's why I'm talking to a machine right now instead of a friend. Like, hopefully, you'll become my friend and we'll have a nice, solid relationship, build a nice, cute community where we just blabber about any and everything. So the person who passed away, may her soul rest in peace. She had beautiful teeth. I know her through audience. I had been to her place, spent the night, even one Christmas, spent Christmas together one time. I lived a couple streets away from her house. She had been to my place. She would walk 2 to 3 miles one way to my place, use the internet. She loved working out and jogging and this and that. Very, very active in that way. She was, in my opinion, underweight. But what do I know? And she would work out a lot. So I was a little concerned about that, but I never talked about, we weren't that close. So, one day, I guess, apparently we weren't friends anymore. Like, nothing happened. It just dissolved. This is not something new in my life. So that girl passed away. I was really shocked to find that out. And just said for her, I know she loved her family. And apparently her spouse, they were still together. She had been together with for probably 5 to 10 years when I knew her 5 years or so ago. So there'd been, by the time she passed, can't believe I'm talking to her in the past tense like that, actually. I was very sorry to hear about her loss, even though we're no longer together, like no longer like friends, because I just know like she leaves a very good impression on you. That's just the kind of person, soul that she is. She's one of the people I was like, man, I'm so comfortable. Like, I spent the night at her place. I don't spend nights at people's places. That's how like we connected. I won't like give you more details lest you're somebody who kind of knows me and you find out who this is. None of what I said is a secret, but like I don't want to. It's not my story. I guess it's her life or death. I hope that her soul will rest in eternal peace. They have some kind of a GoFundMe for her funeral. It's very interesting. Just this is a totally different topic, and I'm not talking about her anymore. But I find it interesting. What do you think of the GoFundMes nowadays for like funerals, for medical bills, stuff that people used to pay for or even plan for beforehand? This is no judgment whatsoever on these people who do these things, because I'm not in their shoes. And life is hard, and we're in a period now in a world pandemic where a lot of people lost their jobs, their businesses, their whatever, so I get it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. I would add more things, but then it's not gonna reflect what I want it to. So I'll talk about what I'm thinking about right now on a different podcast. I think I'm gonna get off now. No pun intended. What am I gonna do? I just arrived. Well, I had arrived almost 30 minutes ago when I started this podcast. I got here and I ate dinner, which was a vegetable soup, lots of cauliflower. I was telling my sister how I was craving. Mainly, I eat meat, pretty much meat only, and eggs. It's like my diet, like no vegetables, no nothing else. Well, except the days when I eat bread, which is like once a week, because I love bread and bread is life, and I'm not a perfect person. But if it were up to me, I'll just eat. If I was a perfect person, I would just eat meat only. So lately, since the beginning of the year. It's not a New Year's resolution thing. It's just my body will crave once or twice a month. My body will crave vegetables. Then I will go crazy and eat vegetables only and just be like a vegetarian/vegan for like a month or two. No jokes. So January, the first week I ate everything, but the second until the end of the month, second week until the end of January, I ate vegetarian. And then this month of February, I did vegetarian for 1 week, and then vegetarian and a full chicken the second week, or vegetarian for 2 weeks and 1 chicken for the second week, and now we're in the third week or something like that. Do it like the first 2 weeks vegetarian, the third week 1 chicken, the fourth week, which is this week, the last week of the month. I mean, it's gonna be the last day of the month in 2 days. Unbelievable. I bought chicken again this time. I wanted rotisserie chicken that's already prepped because it's $5. Like, why am I cooking? But they didn't have any at Walmart when I was there, and I wasn't going to drive through Costco in a giant truck. I try to limit the places that I go to because I use the company truck as my personal errand truck. We're allowed to for a maximum of 2 hours per day. So I take off the trailer, so I'm able to maneuver in smaller streets and in parkings, and I don't need the trailer. So I try to limit the number of places I go to. So I have a few spots. I'll tell you some other time all of that. But my point was, I ended up buying a whole chicken and cooking it, just like I did last week. No shame in my game. So I ate a vegetable soup now that had beets, squash, butternut squash, yellow squash, butternut squash, and a bunch of cauliflower and all that. It's nice and sweet, and lots of carrots. That's all for today. Thank you for listening to me babbling away. It's your host, Babalwa Brooke, and I really appreciate you sticking around, me talking about random topics. Message me on all social media, like I said, at Babalwa Brooke. And I have a YouTube channel as well, which is, you guessed it, Babalwa Brooke on YouTube. So youtube.com/Babalwa Brooke, where you can hashtag Trucker Brooke and I should come up. No pun intended. I'll talk to you next time. Toodles!